I've been trying to put the preview windows up 24 hours in advance, and because I don't have one of those fancy Rumble accounts, you know, with the Rumble check mark and all of that stuff, they only allow you to use a certain amount of slots on Rumble. So to solve that problem, I'm going to be starting another channel on Rumble. So look out for that. You know, it'll probably be something really creative like Blacklight Revelations 3 or something like that. So this stream right here is not streaming on Rumble. All right. This is not a members only stream. This is not a Patreon exclusive. Didn't get a chance to do it right when it happened. And I hate to waste a fresh thumbnail because, as you guys can see on the thumbnail, got my homegirl, Marjorie Taylor Green, looking like the fly girl that she is. All right. So now here it says the hardline House Freedom Caucus has voted to remove Representative Marjorie Taylor Green from its ranks, according to Representative Andy Harris, a caucus board member. So now let me ask you guys a question. We're going to get into some critical thinking. Why do you all feel that they moved to remove her? Why do you guys feel that they moved to get rid of her? What did she do wrong? A vote was taken to remove Marjorie Taylor Green from the House Freedom Caucus for quote unquote some things that she's done. Harris told Political and CNN on Thursday. So now let's ask this question and see how much attention you all have been paying to politics. What has she done? What'd she do besides be born? Aside from be born, what did she do? A spokesperson for the House Freedom Caucus would not confirm whether the group voted to remove Green, pointing to its policy of confidentiality. HFC does not comment on membership or internal process, they said. So they use that same blue line of silence that the police use. You know what I'm saying? Carlton Way says she was running her big mouth. Yeah, you know, MTG gets down. She's always using that mouth. You know what I'm saying? She's always using that mouth. You know what I'm saying? Always. It always gets her. Give me a thumbs down. And now, as a result of her breaking code, she's facing the consequence. She's got excommunicated. Right? So, conflict of interest. You support a guy supporting some things that we don't like. Got to get you up out of there. So now she's up out of there. Now she's up out of there. She has become a close ally of McCarthy, supporting him for speaker, even as opposition from many of her Freedom Caucus colleagues forced a historic 15-ballot election in January. So now, do you all remember when this happened? There was a group of Republicans that was against Kevin McCarthy becoming the speaker. And Marjorie Taylor Green, although is associated closely with that group, she went against that group and supported Kevin McCarthy. And second time, now she supported him with this debt bill. I think all of that mattered, Harris said, referring to the debt bill and Green's support for McCarthy. But it was Green's latest clash with fellow firebrand Republican Laura Boebert that appears to have pushed members to vote to remove her, with Harris calling it the straw that broke the camel's back. So let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys know what happened between her and Boebert? If you guys know what happened between Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Green, let me know. And if you don't know, all you got to do is just look at this highlighted portion right here. Green called Boebert a little B word on the House floor in late June and publicly confirmed doing so after Boebert made a surprise move to force action on her articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Green criticized Boebert for not coming to explain her decision to the House GOP conference and accused Boebert of copying her articles of impeachment against Mayorkas. So I mean, this is nothing more than like a literal political cat fight. But as a result of that cat fight, Marjorie Taylor Green is out. Marjorie Taylor Green is out. Lauren Boebert is in. I think the way she referred to a fellow member was probably not the way we expect our members to refer to their fellow, especially female members, Harris said. Okay, so now let me ask you guys a question. Clearly, they have some standards, right, of expecting, I guess, what they consider professionalism, despite the fact that these are the same people who were about to get into a fight on the House floor. But they allegedly have some expectations and somewhat of a expected code of conduct, a certain level of respect that they're allegedly in the public eye supposed to treat each other with. The vote, first reported by Politico last week, took place the morning before the House left for a 2-week recess ahead of Independence Day. Harris would not say how he voted, but praised House Freedom Caucus Chairman Scott Perry for being a true leader and doing a great job. So now let me ask you guys a question. Do you all know anything about the Freedom Caucus's politics, what they're about, what kind of values they have, their worldview, things that they feel are important goals for the United States? Carlton, you wild. It wouldn't hurt Boebert, you know what I'm saying, to get on the Smith rack, you know what I'm saying, do a couple squats here or there, you know what I'm saying, drink a little bit of whey protein, you know what I'm saying, wouldn't help. Or I mean, it wouldn't hurt, you know what I'm saying, it wouldn't hurt, you know, and it wouldn't hurt, and it wouldn't hurt Marjorie Taylor Green to lay off the free weights, you know what I'm saying, and slow down on that protein. That wouldn't hurt. It's interesting how those two have issues yet opposite problems. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, but the move to oust Green is drawing some outside criticism of Perry and the caucus as a whole. If I'm Scott Perry, this is the last thing I want making headlines leading into 3 weeks of session before the August recess, a senior Republican aide told The Hill. All of the continuous drama surrounding HFC has put their members at odds of getting any agenda items passed. Now, shout out to my man Torian Rain and shout out to Black Manta. What's good with y'all? Now, let me ask you guys a question because that's actually kind of interesting. And I have some opinions about that. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 26 live viewers and we got 16 likes. If everybody could smash that like button and we can get the likes up over 30, that would be great. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you all agree with this? All of the continuous drama surrounding the HFC has put their members at odds of getting any agenda items passed. Do you all feel that if you have things that you would like to get done, if there's drama surrounding what you're trying to get done, that it decreases the likelihood of anything getting done? If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. The most pressing battle between members of the House Freedom Caucus and the House GOP leadership is over appropriations and spending levels. Last month, a portion of members from the group and their allies blocked legislative activity on the House floor, Boebert's favorite place, mind you, for a week in protest of top-line spending levels that's set in the debt limit bill. Members of the group have regularly met with leadership about spending levels in the weeks since, but they have left for the 2-week break with disagreements remaining. Beyond the spending levels, members of the Freedom Caucus caused more headaches for leadership with privileged motions to force action on their measures. In addition to Boebert's move to force action on Mayorkas' impeachment articles, which are ultimately referred back to committees, Representative Anna Paulina Luna forced action on a resolution to censure Representative Adam Schiff over his statements about former President Trump. All right. So there's that. So Marjorie Taylor Green got kicked out of her little club that she was in. You like the thumbnail, Torian? I said that's the only way Marjorie Taylor Green will ever be a quote unquote fly girl. So, how many people know who a guy named Ryan Walters is? If you guys know who Ryan Walters is, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't know who Ryan Walters is, you guys know what to do. Why do I ask? Because that's all I do is ask. That's literally all I do. 90% of my live streams are me asking questions. Why do I ask questions? Because I can. Duh. So my question for you guys is, who is Ryan Walters? Anybody know who he is or what he did? There you go. Ryan Walters has been accused of saying that the Tulsa Massacre was not about race. Now, what I find interesting is that anytime any of these people come at us and attack our history or say something wild or say something crazy, they always seem to know what it's not about, but they can never give a concrete answer when it comes to what it is about, despite the fact that the history of these things in many cases is over 100 years. Facts. And shout out to Torian. Torian says, oh, this dude, this is why I do the Black Massacre series. Facts. And it'd be nice if more people would react to the Black Massacre series. You know, like all of those bug-eyed, buck-dancing morons that you see flooding your homepage for no reason that said, Tesla and Figaro got destroyed on the Breakfast Club, or Thomas Sowell is God. You didn't see Bruce Almighty? None of those people ever react to Torian's Black Massacre series. Let me ask you guys, why do you think that might be? Ryan Walters denies saying Tulsa Race Massacre was not about race. So apparently he was criticized because he said something that must have sounded like the Tulsa Massacre was not about race. Because literally, when it comes to the Conservative Party, the only thing that they ever say is allegedly about race is when they like to call out, quote unquote, Democrat racism instead of white supremacy. Conservatives believe that there's a system of black supremacy in the United States that suppresses white male free speech and imprisons white men for undue crimes. Shout out to Marjorie Taylor Green. This is something that she said. And I got to agree, Torian, the 3 survivors who are still around today would beg to differ. And also, let me ask you guys a question, all 19 of you guys that are still in here, because I was boring the other people. What was the United States climate like during that time? Oh, I agree. Those people should literally get exactly what they give when something happens to us. So, you know, if they ever decide to change, then they'll get a change. But until then, they should get the exact same energy. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. So now here it says, yes, Tulsa's 1921 race massacre was about race and should be taught as such. Oklahoma Superintendent of Public Instruction Ryan Walters said Friday. Let me be crystal clear that history should be accurately taught, Walters said in a written statement. The Tulsa Race Massacre is a terrible mark on our history. The events on that day were racist, evil, and it is inexcusable. And let me guess, it was the Democrats only that did it. Let me guess, it was only Democrats that did it. Do you ever notice how they do that? It's it's never quote unquote white people. I think we should come up with two classes of lineages for these people. The first one being Adosos, and the second one being American beneficiaries of racism and white supremacy. And that way, just like reparations, it's now no longer a quote unquote race issue. It's a lineage issue. I agree, Torian. The whole left and right thing, if you ask me, is the two sides of an argument thing, which is why there's two parties. No, I gotta watch. I'm gonna watch the replay of that stream today, Torian. I'm gonna watch the replay of that stream today. And shout out to the people who were just waiting for somebody to go live about Keke Palmer. That was just, taking up space. You know what I'm saying? Walters came in for social media ridicule after his answer to a question posed 4 times by the same person at a public event Thursday night in Norman was interpreted by some to mean the massacre should not be attributed to race. Well, let me ask you guys the question. What was going on during that time in the United States? What kind of laws were going on during the United States at that time? And I got to agree with Ricky. There's only one party, and it's called white supremacy. Facts. If you guys agree with Ricky, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with Ricky, give me a thumbs down. The passage that seemed to confuse or was twisted, in Walter's opinion, came near the end of his response to a question about the massacre and critical race theory. So now let me ask you guys a question. Don't you find it interesting how when it comes to actual American history, somehow it's critical race theory? Juneteenth is critical race theory. This is critical race theory. Everything is critical race theory. History is now race theory, according to these people. So my question is, how is that possible? How does history turn into theory? Man, I must really be boring the shit out of y'all. I might say, fuck this next stream. I gotta agree, Carlos. They come up with the craziest terms. Facts. The passage that seemed to confuse or was twisted, in Walter's opinion, came at the near end of his response to a question about the massacre and critical race theory. I would say be judgmental of the issue, of the action, of the content, of the character of the individual. Absolutely. But let's not tie it to the skin color and say that the skin color determines it, Walter says. The skin color did determine it. That's what made it a race massacre. So nobody took anything out of context. He was basically trying to water it down. And he got called on it. And he don't like getting called on it. So now what he's doing is he's trying to go back and say, well, that's not what I said, but that is what you said. I'm gonna read his statement again. I would say be judgmental of the issue, of the action, of the content, of the character of the individual. Does the content of the character, does DNA count? Absolutely. But let's not tie it to skin color and say that skin color determines it. Walter said, okay, how many black people were with the white people massacring black people during the Tulsa riot, during the Tulsa race massacre? Can anybody tell me can anybody tell me any black people who were with the white people massacring black people? Is there any accounts of that? Historical accounts? So my question is, what if it's not about race, then how is it a race massacre? Here's the even better question. In 2023, why are we even dealing with stuff like this? This is very simple, wouldn't you guys say? So now here it says some said they understood Walters to mean skin color should be left out of discussions of the massacre. Why? So they can turn around and say that AAPI and Asians and Latinos were massacred. Is that why we should leave skin color out? And so we can also, draw a couple black faces in the mob of people massacring. I mean, there was race laws during that time. So why would we leave race out? Let me ask you guys a question. Did the race laws and race covenants contribute to the massacre occurring? Did racism and justification of the massacre attribute to the massacre occurring? Were there laws and government assistance to the white residents of Tulsa, Oklahoma that contributed to the massacre occurring? Is that massacre occurring one of the reasons why there's a loss of generational wealth in Tulsa, Oklahoma with one particular group of people? Now, my question is for the Republican Party and for these conservatives and all of these clowns, if you want to take race out of everything, why is it that every time your thin lips open up about crime, you can't talk about crime without it being black on black crime if you want to take race out of everything? Let's ponder on that for a little bit. So, why would we take race out of this when this is about race? Let me ask you guys a question. Who made the United States about race? Anybody got any answers for me about that question? We got to go through all of these questions because the next people that'll be looking to try to get our history removed will be AAPI people. And the AAPI people will take the narrative and try to say that our history in this country is utilized to guilt white people and to excuse our disparities. Yet they want to be shoehorned into it. Let me ask you a question. How come nobody says let's take religion out of when it comes to World War II? I mean, we live on a planet with a diverse amount of religions. You know what I'm saying? We got a bunch of people that are Hindu. You know what I'm saying? We got a bunch of people who are we got a bunch of people who are Hindu. We got a bunch of people who are Muslim. We got a bunch of people who are Catholic. We got a bunch of people who are Christian. We got a bunch of people who are Orthodox. I mean, like, every single time we talk about World War II, why do we have to talk about it in terms of a religious group? when there were multiple groups of people that were affected by World War II. I mean, let me tell you guys something. World War II is not all lives mattered at all. Shout out to Tell Toya. What's good with it? What's good with you, Toya? Good to see you in here. I mean, my question is, why not? I think that's a valid question, right? I'd say so. So now let's listen to this. Hopefully this will play. Let's see.
Tulsa Race
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Massacre.
Okay, so I want you guys to listen. Okay. And what I want you guys to do is, as you listen, tell me what parts you may or may not have an issue with.
Tulsa Race Massacre not fall under your definition of CRT.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't address that part. I would never tell a kid that because of your race,
why is that even a question? First of all, let's deal with that part there. Why is that even a question? How is history in our country that happened to us part of critical race theory? How is that even a question? We're living in a time period where people don't know what a woman is. We're living in a time period where people do not know what a woman is. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody watching the stream. We got 26 people watching. If you guys haven't banged on that like button, make sure you guys take a moment, smash that like button, hit that bell, share the stream to your social media, and make sure you're getting the notifications by hitting the Discord link that's pinned in the chat.
Tulsa Race Massacre not fall under your definition of CRT.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't address that part. I would never tell a kid that because of your race, because of your color of your skin, or your gender, or anything like that, you are less of a person. Or
what does that have to do with anything? And that's what that exact thing that he's saying right there. The people who were taught that they were better than other people and other people were less than them because of the color of their skin, which was only one group of people with one color of skin, were taught that, and that ideology facilitated the Tulsa Massacre. Shout out to Torian. Torian says, I see 38 live viewers. YouTube may be messing with it on my end. There was a point where I saw like 5 people live, like literally like just seconds ago, and now it jumped up to 40. How can you criticize actual historic events as theory? That's my question. I need somebody to help me out with that. And remember, guys, make sure that you stay in the stream after it's over, okay? It'll take you directly into the next one, and it'll start very shortly. Mac25 says, what makes me mad is seeing black conservative channels like Officer Tatum and Mind of Jamal say the Tulsa riots was the black people's fault. Well, my thing is, if people want more eyes on channels like Torian Reigns, on channels like TD Hip Hop Media, you know what I'm saying? You guys got to run that algorithm.
Gender or anything like that, you are less of a person or are inherently racist. That doesn't mean you don't judge the actions of individuals. Oh, you can absolutely. Historically, you should. This was right. This was wrong. They did this for this reason. But to say it was inherent in that because of their skin.
It was inherent because of their skin. It was inherent because of their skin. Say it with me. It was inherent because of their skin. Now, have people changed over time? Maybe. But during that time period, it's undeniably inherent because of their skin, because of the laws, because of the location they were in, because of the continent that they came from, the pattern of the countries on that continent. Anytime they came in contact with other people that they weren't like them, say it again with me, it was inherent because of their skin. It was inherent because of their skin, because abolitionists like the racist Charles Darwin, abolitionists like the racist Abraham Lincoln, these people were quote unquote liberals. These people were abolitionists. And we can pull up quotes on them. It was inherent because of their skin. Let me ask you guys a question. Is organized thought, written language, and utilizing motor skills for complex tasks something that's inherent because somebody is a human? If it is, give me a thumbs up. If it's not, then give me a thumbs down. And shout out to Val. What's good with it, Val? And my question is, if it's not inherent because of their skin, then explain exactly what happened. Let's do a root cause analysis. Let me ask you guys a question. Is racism a choice, a practice, a culture, and a business model? Is it all of those, all of the above? If it is, give me a thumbs up. If it's not, then give me a thumbs down. You could, I guess, classify it as a religion too. So now I want you guys to name, what is something that's inherent in Christianity, the Old and New Testament, right? Church, communion, belief in the Trinity. These are things that are inherent with Christianity. Why are they inherent? They're inherent because they're a deep-rooted part of the culture. Name one country outside of Europe that Europeans have had a peaceful first encounter with. Name one country or group of people or region that Europeans, not even just Europeans, Caucasians have conquered where a race-based class system was not installed. Arabs did it, Muslims did it, and Europeans did it. Now, my question is, if we're going to say that that's not inherent, my question is, what are we going to call that then? And what should we do with the pattern? If we're going to say that that's not inherent, what do we call the similarities and the pattern? What do we call the similarities that France did with Canada to what Britain did with the United States, to what Spain did with Mexico, to what Germany did and tried to do to the Soviet Union, and to what Western Europe did to Eastern Europe, to what the UK did in Jamaica, to what Spain did in the Dominican Republic? What do we call that then? And why is it that all of those European countries have that legacy? If it's not inherent, why does it go across continents? Anytime there is a interaction with them and other people. Oh, you want to talk about the model minority? Let's talk about the caste system that the Brits set up with the model minority. Let's talk about the Brits' invasion of Hong Kong. Let's talk about how they did the Aboriginals in New Zealand and Australia. What is that? That's my question, ladies and gentlemen. What is the answer for that? What are we calling it? If that's not inherent, it's a little bit too much of a pattern to ignore. So what do we call that? You don't want to call it being inherent? What word should we use then? Should we say that there's a pattern? Where does that pattern come from? Where does that pattern originate? The Dutch set up a system of apartheid in South Africa. Same time Jim Crow is going on here in the United States and after. Not inherent. If we're supposed to go based on as long as the FBI has been collecting FBI crime statistics about Black people and violent tendencies based on crime statistics, my question is, what are we supposed to do with hundreds of years of historical data about white people and their interactions with other groups of people? Now, if you want to sit there and say, based on the last, 50 years of FBI crime stats, that Black people are violent because of the 1350 statistics, my question is, what do we do with the 100% of European continents with their interactions between other countries statistic? Because that's a larger data set over a larger span of time. So if inherent degeneracy and violence is in Black people as a result of FBI crime statistics, my question is, what's in white people as a result of centuries of historical information? Oh, duh. Maybe that's why we're trying to take it out of schools.
Is where I say that is critical race theory. You're saying that a race defines a person. I reject that. So I would say
no one has ever said a race defines a person except for, say it with me. Say it with me. Literally, no one has ever said a race defines people except for, say it with me now. I'm not going to say it. I'll let y'all say it.
You be judgmental of the issue, of the action, of the content, of the character of the individual, absolutely. But let's not tie it to the skin color and say that the skin color determines it.
One more follow-up.
Okay, let me ask you this. Random sample. Chaos theory. How is it that if we take a random sample of the people involved in the massacre, 100% of them were white, and 100% of the people who were killed in the massacre were Black? That one person clapped. He was clapping his heart out, wasn't he? He was clapping like Lena the Plug's cheeks.
Follow-up. How does the
Yep. He was doing this. He was doing the sound effect for Adam 22.
Color determined.
One more follow-up.
Oh, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys drop some radiation emoji in the chat. We got a stream sponsor. Shout out to my man Lloyd Sky 9 with the $5 super chat. Lloyd Sky 9 says you can't trust the stats anymore. Did you see the story in Connecticut where they made up stats to cover up biased ticketing to Black drivers? No, I didn't. But hit me up with that story in the Discord or tag me in it on Twitter. I want to check that out because we can definitely throw that on Crimecast.
How does the Tulsa Race Massacre not fall under your definition of CRT?
Probably because some of his relatives were involved, for one. So it's probably not part of CRT. It's probably part of his family tree.
I answered it. That's my answer. And again,
think about this. Yo, think about this, man. Think about this. Adosos actually have black people who have literally hung from their family trees. Think about that. Think about that. That's wild.
The Tulsa Race Massacre was a race massacre. How does it not fall under CRT?
It was a race, right? No, and also it was people that I want you guys to do you guys see this? The Tulsa Race Massacre was a race massacre. How does it not fall under CRT? If it falls under history, because it was a race massacre, the white people chose to massacre people based on their race. But now, isn't it funny, right, that the human trifecta, aka the Sombreritos, because their culture, religion, and a race, allegedly, somehow, the unholy trinity, nobody ever talks about their history in terms of critical race theory, and those people are the unholy trinity. They're a race, allegedly, a religion, allegedly, and a culture, allegedly. So when we talk about World War II doesn't get CRT'd. It doesn't get wokeded. Why not? That's my question. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 47 live viewers. I'm glad I'm not boring you guys anymore. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Help get the stream up over 40 likes. And let me ask you guys a question. How many people are going to stick around and watch the Auditing Africa stream? I guarantee you it'll be worth it.
I've answered your question. I do appreciate it. Very respectful.
The 100 Years of Silence was about race. How does that not fall? How does that not qualify for CRT?
I appreciate your question. I'm going to give some other people some.
Now, if he appreciates the question, then my question for him is, why is he not answering it? You know what I mean? So now here it says, later asked whether the Tulsa Race Massacre should be taught in schools, Walter said the only way our kids have the ability to learn from history and continue to make this country the best country is to understand those times that we fell short, where there's a lot of times that occurred. That would be an entire class of its own. A very clear and direct understanding of those times. I will always support that. Our kids should know about the Tulsa Race Massacre. They just should know that it was a bunch of white people who did it because they were white that did it. That's not important. They absolutely should. There are state academic standards around that. I'll continually work for a more robust curriculum around these events. I don't want to hide any part of history. It all needs to be right here. Very plain, very direct. It's very important. Well, I think that you don't mind hiding history as long as it's you that's telling the story. Facts. I gotta agree. If you guys agree with Torian, you don't have to have a class. Just play my videos on an endless loop. Give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. I think that Torian Rain's Black Massacre series, as a matter of fact, I think you should back up all of those videos. I think you should put all of those videos on a separate channel and keep them on your channel, but put them all on a separate channel. And that should literally be like curriculum in schools. You know what I'm saying? So Shout out to Mac25. I want you guys to answer his question. Mac25 says, I'm new here. So, first of all, welcome him. And second of all, he says, y'all think race relations will get worse if Trump or DeSantis becomes president? I want to know what you guys think about that. And I want to know what you think about it, Mac. Walters is among those who insist that some schools and teachers try to inoculate the idea that white Americans are inherently racist because of the country's racist past. They are. However, they can make a decision to train themselves to not be. Somebody that has two parents that have cancer is prone to having cancer. But maybe if you have a diet high in lycopene, you eat foods that have antioxidants in them, and you get cancer screenings every couple months, maybe you can prolong the cancer manifestation, or you can avoid it completely, right? But you have to do maintenance. Let me ask you guys a question. Does the United States have parents that were racist? And just like any disease process, if the parents had the disease, then the children are likely to have the disease. Likely. Not saying it's a 100% probability and inescapable, but highly likely. So now we're just going to forego all of that science. We're going to forego all of those statistics. We're going to forego all of that knowledge. We're going to forego all of that common sense to give people who don't deserve grace and don't think that anybody else should be afforded grace. Why would anybody do that? They refer to this as critical race theory, which we all know is not critical race theory. Okay. Critical race theory is actually an advanced academic method for analyzing how and whether racism remains embedded in the country's legal, social, and economic systems. Well, the article that we read from Reuters that told us about the 100 adosos that make up governing bodies of the United States government and lawmakers pretty much says that as of right now, racism is that. Matter of fact, racism is embedded in the United States president right now. Joe Biden, he's an adoso. He's an adoso. Many true CRT adherents see this systemic racism as a means of preserving the economic and political status quo. Those who subscribe to anti-CRT rhetoric largely deny that systemic racism still exists in the United States and tend to focus public attention on the notion that white kids are being taught to hate themselves. Let me ask you guys a question. Where's the cartoons that depict white kids as distorted little mutants? I don't think there's any. Now, I want you guys to name a couple cartoons that depict black people as a distorted little mutant. Let me ask you guys a question. Is Steamboat Willie, aka Mickey Mouse, a black distorted little mutant? Where's the minstrel shows about white people? Let me ask you guys a question. Does anybody care about anything that might be making black kids hate themselves? Anybody care about anything that might be making black kids hate themselves? Walters led the charge to lower Tulsa's public school accreditation after a teacher complained about a diversity training session. Mustang Public Schools was also dinged. The two incidents added to considerable concern about what is and isn't permissible under legislation passed 2 years ago as House Bill 1775 and the administrative rules the Oklahoma State Department of Education implemented as a result. Ironically, given Walters' response to this latest controversy, critics have long accused him of doing exactly what he says happened Thursday night, creating crisis where none exists. Well, we're going to be talking about crisis where none exists. And shout out to my man, KO Kid Fit. Facts. When it comes to that guy, nobody cares. And I agree. A guy just made a video about this yesterday. No one caring about black boys. Facts. And if you ask me, that's one of the reasons why I think that it's important for people to start making an effort to not only care, but to visibly care. I would never tell a kid that because of the color of your skin or your gender or anything like that, you are less of a person or inherently racist. Nobody said anything about less of a person, but inherently racist, you're prone to it. Hey, listen, anybody in here that wants to be a doctor, if you get tests that show carcinoma in situ, or if you get tests that show high levels of BPH, never tell your patients that they're prone to cancer. Just tell them they'll be fine. Apple a day keeps the doctor away. Maybe if you eat enough, you won't have to come back to the office. Or maybe if you eat enough and never know that you have cancer, it might just kill you and you still won't end up at the office. Walter said during his response to Thursday's first question, that doesn't mean you don't deal with the actions of the individuals. Oh, you can, absolutely. Historically, you should. Well, what's interesting about it is that the actions of the individuals are still not being dealt with. There's 3 black people who are older than 100 years old that are still trying to get the actions of those individuals dealt with. People tried to get the actions of Carolyn Bryant dealt with, and they still haven't been dealt with. What do you say to that? Oh, I'm all out of time for questions. That's what you say to that. That's what you say to that. Oh, you can, absolutely. Historically, you should. This was right. This was wrong. They did that for this reason. But to say that it was inherent because of their skin color is where I say critical race theory. Race defines a person. I reject that. Let me ask you guys a question. When you go to the doctor's office, does your chart define you to that doctor? If when you go to the doctor's office, your chart defines you, give me a thumbs up. If you go to the doctor's office and something else defines you, then give me a thumbs down. Now, your chart defines you because the chart is a data analysis and a collection of assessments of past health information, right? Because in most cases, past health information can determine the future of your health, right? However, if there's comorbidities, possible disease processes, and suspect genetics, you can utilize that past information to either slow those things down from occurring or avoid them completely. Would you agree or would you disagree? Shout out to Black Knight Discussions. What's good with it, bro? So, I mean, you know, this ain't brain surgery here. You know what I'm saying? So now here's some pictures. Race massacre. This happened in Tulsa in 1921. White mobs invaded Greenwood and burned it down. Now, this is Tulsa World. And if I'm not mistaken, Tulsa World has been around since the Tulsa Race Massacre. And it was one of the disinformation newspapers that was really putting out a lot of disinformation. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember who it was exactly that made the video about it, but they actually talked about that. Okay. Look at all this. All this history right here. I'll put this article. Look at this. Look at this. Nab Negro for attacking girl in elevator. Race war rages for hours. Right in Tulsa World, the very same newspaper that I'm reading right now. It's literally printed in this very newspaper right now. And let me ask you guys a question. Who printed this newspaper? Who printed this newspaper? Was it the CRT boogie people? Did the CRT boogie people print this newspaper? Look at this. They got everything here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link. How many people want me to put the link to this article in the chat? This is a good article. I think, you know, people that make content. Let me see something here. Hold on. Okay. I think people that make content should make a video using this article. And explain to me how, or explain to anybody how this is critical race theory. Now, mind you, do you guys think that the Tulsa World newspaper would put critical race theory in the newspaper? But apparently anything that holds them folks accountable for anything is not only woke, but it's critical race theory. All right. So stay right here. Do not move. Momentarily, we will be live on Auditing Africa. If you're not subscribed to that channel, no worries. This will take you right in there. You'll be able to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, you'll be able to comment after 5 minutes. Make sure you guys smash the like button. Make sure you guys hit the bell. Make sure you guys leave lots of comments after the stream. And I will catch you all on the next video. All right? Peace.